The arrival of the alien widow, on a quiet and lonely planet far from Earth. The cold wind blew gently across the rocky surface. The sky was dark with strange purple clouds, and the stars shone bright. A small spaceship flew slowly above the planet, searching for a safe place to land. Inside the ship was a human explorer named Jason. He was part of a mission to find new worlds and new life in the universe. Jason was curious and brave, but also careful. He knew space was full of surprises and dangers. Today, something felt different. He was about to find something he would never forget. Jason's ship began to shake as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Suddenly, the engine made a loud noise and the ship started to fall. He quickly took control and managed to land near a small village. The village was strange, not like anything Jason had seen before. The houses were made of shining metal and glowing crystals. As Jason stepped out of the ship, he noticed a figure walking slowly towards him. It was a woman, but she was not human. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were large and bright like the stars. Her long silver hair moved softly in the wind. She looked tired and sad, but there was something strong about her. This was the alien widow. Jason watched as she carried a small child in her arms. Behind her, 3 more children followed, closely. They looked thin and weak with clothes that were torn and dirty. Jason's heart felt heavy. He could see the pain in the woman's eyes. "Hello," Jason said carefully. "I am Jason. I come in peace." The alien widow stopped and looked at him. She spoke softly in a strange language. Jason didn't understand, but then she used a small device that translated her words into English. "Please," she said, "will you help me? My husband is dead. I am alone with my children. I have no one." Jason felt a deep sadness. He had seen many strange things in space, but this was different. This woman was not asking for food or money. She wanted something else and something bigger. "What do you need?" Jason asked. "A husband," she said simply. "Someone to care for my children, someone to be their father." Jason was surprised. He had never heard such a request before, but he could see it was true. The alien widow's eyes showed hope, but also fear. "Why me?" Jason asked quietly. "Because you are human," she said, "and humans are strong. You can protect us." Jason looked at the children again. They were scared and tired, but also full of hope. He knew this was a big responsibility, but something inside him told him to help. "I will think about it," Jason said. The alien widow nodded and sat down near a small fire. She began to tell her story. Her name was Lyra. She had lived on this planet with her husband and children for many years. Her husband was a great warrior who protected their village from danger. But one day, he was killed in a battle against a powerful enemy. Since then, Lyra had struggled to take care of her children alone. The village was not safe anymore. Many people had left. Lyra was afraid the enemy would come back and harm her family. Jason listened carefully. He could feel the pain in her voice. He also noticed how brave she was. Even though she was sad, she was still strong. "Why didn't you leave the planet?" Jason asked. "This is our home," Lyra said. "We have nowhere else to go. My children need a father. I need help." Jason looked at the stars again. He thought about his mission, his family back on Earth, and the loneliness of space. He understood Lyra's wish. It was not just about survival, it was about love and family. "I will stay for now," Jason said. "But we need to be careful. This planet is dangerous." Lyra smiled for the first time. "Thank you," she said. "You are our only hope." As the night grew darker, Jason sat with Lyra and her children by the fire. He felt a new kind of mission beginning, not just to explore space, but to protect a family in need. But he didn't know what challenges waited for him. The enemy was still out there and time was running out. The story of the alien widow had only just begun. The strange request? The morning sun rose slowly over the alien planet, casting long shadows across the strange, glowing village. Jason woke, up inside his small shelter, still thinking about Lyra and her children. Their story was not like any he had heard before. It was simple, but filled with deep pain and hope. He stepped outside and saw Lyra already awake, sitting quietly near the remains of last night's fire. Her pale blue skin shimmered softly in the early light. The children were playing nearby, but their eyes held a sadness no child should have. Jason felt a strong urge to understand more. He walked towards Lyra and asked, "Why do you want me? To be your husband? Why not someone from your own people?" Lyra's eyes looked straight into his, serious and honest. "Our people have many rules. A human is different. You can protect my children in ways we cannot. My husband was brave, but not immortal. I need someone who can fight, someone who can give my children hope." Jason was silent for a moment. He thought about his life, his home, his family, his mission. Could he really accept this strange request? Could he become a husband and father on a planet so far away from everything he knew? Before he could answer, a sudden sound broke the quiet. From behind the hills came the distant roar of engines and shouting. Jason's heart jumped. It was not the peaceful morning he expected. Lyra's face changed. Fear returned. "They are coming," she whispered. "The ones who killed my husband. They want my children." Jason quickly grabbed his gear and stood in front of the children. "Who are they?" he asked, ready to protect. "Bandits," Lyra said. "They want to take the children for their own plans. If they capture the children, our family will end. I cannot let that happen." The air was thick with tension. "Jason," and Lyra moved quickly, hiding the children in a secret cave nearby. The children's eyes were wide with fear, clutching each other tightly. As the bandits' noisy group approached the village, Jason noticed something strange. They were not only humans, but also creatures with sharp claws and glowing eyes. It was clear they had been hunting Lyra's family for a long time. "Why are they after your children?" Jason asked quietly. Lyra's voice trembled. "My children have a gift, something very rare. It makes them special, powerful. The bandits want to use that power for war." Jason's mind raced. This was more than just a family fight. It was a battle over something dangerous and unknown. "We need to act fast," Jason said. "I can fight, but we must be smart." Lyra nodded, her face full of determination. "You must marry me. Only then will the village accept you as protector. Only then will my children be safe." Jason stared at her. The request was not just about love or family. It was about trust, survival, and a future for these innocent lives. "This is not an easy choice," Jason said slowly. "But I won't let them hurt your children." The bandits were getting closer. The ground shook as their vehicles rolled in, lights flashing. The village, once peaceful and glowing, now looked like a battlefield, waiting to happen. Jason and Lyra prepared to face what was coming, the unknown enemy. The strange powers of the children and the fragile hope of a new family were all on the line. As the first bandit appeared on the horizon, Jason raised his weapon. He was ready, not just as an explorer, but as a protector, a husband, and a father in a world far from home. But the question remained. Would he survive this fight? And would the alien widow's wish come true? The story was far from over. It was only beginning. The bonding begins. The battle was over, but the silence that followed was heavy. The bandits had been pushed back for now, but Jason knew it was only the first fight in a much bigger war. The danger was not gone. It was waiting in the shadows, ready to strike again. Lyra sat quietly near the cave entrance, her children close by her side. The youngest, a small girl named Mila, clung to her mother's arm, eyes wide with fear. The others looked tired but brave, hiding their pain behind forced smiles. Jason looked at them and felt a strange new feeling inside, something he had never expected to feel so far from Earth. He felt responsible, not just as a soldier or explorer, but as a protector, as if these children were his own. For days, Jason stayed with Lyra and the children. He taught them how to stay safe, how to hide, how to protect themselves if danger came again. The children watched him closely, learning quickly. Their fear slowly changed into trust. But trust was not easy to earn. One evening, while the stars shone brightly above, Mila crawled into Jason's lap. She looked up at him with innocent eyes and whispered, "Will you really stay? Will you be our father?" Jason's heart tightened. He was not sure he could promise that yet, but he knew he wanted to try. "I will do my best," he said softly. "You are not alone anymore." As days passed, Jason learned more about Lyra's world and her people's history. He discovered that her children were born with a rare power, the ability to control energy around them. It was a gift that made them special, but also very dangerous. The bandits wanted that power to build weapons and control other planets. If they got the children, it would mean disaster for many worlds. One night, Jason woke to a strange noise outside the cave. He grabbed his weapon and looked out into the dark. He saw shadows moving between the rocks, bandits searching for their prey. Jason quickly woke Lyra and the children. They hid deeper inside the cave as the bandits came closer. Jason's heart pounded. He knew this time they would not leave without a fight. The bandits found the cave entrance and started to break through the rocks with heavy tools. Jason prepared to defend the family. Lyra held her children tight, her face full of fear and courage. "Hold on," Jason whispered. "I'm here." The fight was fierce. Jason's skill and quick thinking helped them escape many attacks. Lyra used her knowledge of the land to lead the children through secret tunnels. Finally, they reached a hidden place deep underground. It was old, dark, and cold, but it was safe. For now. As they rested, Lyra looked at Jason with a new hope. "You are more than a protector," she said. "You are becoming family." Jason smiled tiredly. He felt it too. The bond between them was growing stronger with every moment. But even in this quiet moment, danger was not far. The bandits would not stop. They were hunting them, ready to destroy everything Lyra and Jason were trying to save. And Jason knew one thing clearly. If he wanted to protect this family, he would have to become more than a stranger from another world. He would have to become their husband and father. The question was he ready to make that choice? The story was changing. The adventure was only getting bigger, and the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear. Jason would fight with all, his heart to protect Lyra and her children, no matter what came next. The hidden threat, the hidden cave felt cold and dark, but for now, it was safe. Jason, Lyra, and the children huddled together, catching their breath. Outside, the wind howled softly, carrying distant sounds of the bandits searching the rocky hills. Jason's mind was racing. The bandits were stronger and more determined than he had thought. They would not give up until they had captured the children and the power they held. He knew the danger was growing, closer with every moment. Lyra sat near the fire, her face pale but strong. She looked at her children, faces marked by fear but filled with a quiet bravery. "We can't hide forever," she said softly. "They will find us." Jason nodded. "We need a plan. We need to fight back before they come for us again." Children listened closely as Jason explained. He wanted to teach them how to defend themselves, how to use their powers safely, but he also knew something else. To protect them, he would have to face his own fears and limits. "This power inside you," Jason said to the children, "it's a gift, but it's also a weapon. If you learn to control it, you can keep yourself safe. But if you lose control, it can be dangerous." The children looked at each other nervously. The youngest, Mila, whispered, "I don't want to hurt anyone." Lyra smiled gently. "You will only use it to protect little Run." As days passed, Jason trained the children in secret. They practiced controlling the energy that flowed in their bodies. Slowly, the children grew stronger and more confident. But outside, the threat grew darker. One night, Jason saw strange lights moving across the horizon. "They're coming," he whispered. Lyra's eyes filled with fear. "This time they will bring weapons, things we have never seen." The bandits arrived with machines that roared and glowed, machines built to destroy. They surrounded the cave's entrance, their voices cruel and loud. "Come out," their leader shouted through a loudspeaker. "Give us the children and we will spare your lives." Jason stood in front of the group holding his weapon steady. "You will not take them," the bandit leader laughed. "You're just one man. What can you do?" Jason's heart pounded. He knew he couldn't fight alone. He looked at Lyra and the children. "We have to stand together." Lyra nodded. She held the children close. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for the future." Suddenly, from the cave, the children stepped forward. Their bodies glowed softly with light. Energy pulsed from their hands, lighting up the dark night. The bandits stopped, shocked. They had never seen such power. Jason felt pride and fear mix inside him. This was the moment of truth. The children's gift could save them or destroy everything. The battle began. Energy against machines, courage against cruelty. Jason fought, beside Lyra and the children, their hearts beating as one. But in the chaos, Jason noticed something strange. One bandit was different, not cruel like the others, but afraid. He seemed to hesitate, looking at the children with doubt. Jason wondered, was there someone among the enemies who did not want this war? As the fight raged on, Jason's thoughts were torn between hope and fear. He knew that the true battle was not just with the bandits, it was with the choices they would make. Would they protect the innocent, or would darkness win? As dawn approached, the bandits retreated, but the warning was clear. This was only the beginning. Lyra looked at Jason, her voice quiet but firm. "We need to be ready. The enemy is stronger than we thought." Jason nodded, feeling the weight of the promise he made to protect this family at all costs. And in the silence after the storm, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The marriage proposal, the first light of dawn, barely touched the horizon when Jason sat quietly beside Lyra. The weight of the past battles pressed heavily on both of them. The children, though tired, showed new strength, but the danger was far from over. Jason knew Lyra's world was fragile, hanging by a thin thread. The bandits were relentless, and their thirst for the children's power had only grown stronger. Yet something else was brewing inside Lyra, a silent hope, wrapped in fear and courage. "Jason," Lyra said softly, her eyes searching his. "There is something I must ask." Jason turned to her, curious and cautious. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "Our village has an ancient law. Only a husband can truly protect a family. Only a husband can claim the right to fight for his children's future." Jason blinked, surprised. "You want me to marry you?" Lyra nodded. "Yes. It is more than a promise. It is a bond that will give us strength. Without it, the village will not accept you. The bandits will see us as weak." Jason felt the weight of her words settle deep inside him. Marrying Lyra was not just about love or family. It was about survival. About becoming something more than he ever imagined. He looked at the children playing nearby, their innocent faces full of hope despite the fear. He thought about the promise he had made to protect them, no matter the cost. But the choice was not simple. "I'm not from your world," Jason said honestly. "I don't know if I can live here far from everything I know." Lyra smiled gently. "I know, but your heart is brave, and you have already become part of this family." The sun rose slowly, casting warm light over the rocky hills. The quiet moment felt like the calm before the next storm. Suddenly, a sharp noise broke the peace, a warning signal from a scout. The bandits were near again, closing in faster than ever. Jason stood up, his decision made. "Then it's time," he said firmly. "If marrying you will protect your children and your people, I will do it." Lyra's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. "Thank you, Jason. You give us hope." They moved quickly to prepare. The children watched with wide eyes as Jason and Lyra began the ceremony. simple but full of meaning. As Jason took Lyra's hand, he felt a new power within himself, a strength born from love, responsibility, and hope. But outside, the bandits were already attacking. The battle that followed was fierce. The bandits wanted to stop the union, to break the family before it began. Jason fought harder than ever before, not just with weapons, but with the courage that came from his new bond. Lyra and the children used their powers to protect their home, their new family. Together they stood strong, a symbol of hope against darkness. And in that moment, Jason knew one thing for sure. This marriage was not just a promise. It was a weapon, a shield that could change the fate of worlds. But the bandits would not give up easily. The greatest dangers were still ahead. The story was far from over. In fact, the hardest trials were just beginning. The final battle, the Owl. Sky darkened with heavy clouds as Jason, Lyra, and the children prepared for the fight they all knew was coming. The bandits were gathering their forces, stronger and more ruthless than before. This time, there would be no chance to hide or run. Inside, the cave, tension filled the air. Jason checked his weapon carefully, his eyes sharp and focused. Lyra stood beside him, her face calm but determined. The children held hands, their small bodies glowing faintly with the strange power inside them. "This is it," Jason said quietly. "We fight together, or we fall apart." The youngest Mila looked up with wide eyes. "Will we be okay?" Jason smiled, trying to hide his own fear. "We will. We have to be strong." Outside, the bandits' war machines rolled forward, their engines roaring like thunder. Bright lights cut through the growing darkness, aiming straight for the cave. Jason and Lyra led the children out into the open, standing side by side like a new family ready to face the storm. The first wave of bandits charged with weapons raised. The fight exploded into chaos. Energy blasts and gunfire filled the air. Jason moved with speed and skill, protecting the children and fighting off attackers. Lyra used her strength and knowledge of the land to outsmart the enemy, setting traps and guiding the family to safety. But the bandits were relentless. As the battle raged on, Jason saw the leader of the bandits step forward, a tall, cruel man with cold eyes and a deep hatred for Lyra's family. "Give up now," the leader shouted, "or lose everything." Jason didn't answer. Instead, he raised his weapon and charged. At the same time, the children unleashed their full power. Energy beams shot from their hands, lighting up the battlefield like stars. The bandits screamed in shock and fear. The battle was not just about strength, it was about heart, hope, and the will to protect those you love. In the heat of the fight, Jason was knocked down by a powerful blow. He saw Lyra fighting the bandit leader, her eyes burning with fury and love for her children. With a surge of strength, Jason got up and rushed to her side. Together, they faced the enemy, fighting as one. Finally, the bandit leader fell, defeated. The remaining bandits fled into the darkness. The battlefield was quiet once more, but Jason and Lyra knew this victory came with a cost. The children were exhausted, and their powers had drained much of their energy. Jason looked at Lyra and smiled tiredly. "We did it. Together." Lyra nodded. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy will hear our story." As dawn broke over the rocky hills, the new family stood stronger than ever. They had fought not just for survival, but for a future where hope could grow. And Jason knew, no matter what challenges came next, he would never leave them. Because now, he was not just an explorer. He was their husband, their protector, their family. The story was far from over, but one thing was clear. Together they were unstoppable. New beginning. The battle was over, but the war was far from done. The quiet after the storm felt uneasy, like the calm before an even bigger danger. Jason stood on a rocky cliff overlooking the village. The ruins of the recent fight still smoldered below. Broken homes, shattered crystals, and scorched earth told the story of what had been lost. Yet amid the destruction, life was stirring again. Villagers slowly emerged from hiding, drawn back by hope and the promise of protection. Lyra joined him silently, her eyes scanning the horizon. "The bandits will not stop," she said quietly. They want the children's power for their own war machines. Jason nodded, the weight of their responsibility heavy on his shoulders. We've won battles, but not the war. We need more than strength. We need allies. Lyra looked at their children playing nearby, their glowing hands weaving light in the air. They are special, she said softly. And if the wrong people find out, they will become weapons, not children. Jason's thoughts raced. Their enemies were stronger than they expected, and there were forces beyond the bandits watching from the shadows, others who wanted this power to tip the balance of the galaxy. One night, as the stars hid behind thick clouds, an encrypted message arrived on Jason's communicator. It was a warning from Earth's command. Danger approaching. Unknown forces moving toward your location. Prepare for contact. The threat was bigger than bandits. Something ancient and dangerous, hungry for the children's energy. Jason gathered Lyra and the village leaders. We must protect the children, no matter the cost, he said. We will need to unite all nearby planets, build an alliance stronger than any army. Lyra's voice was firm. And I will stand with you. The bond we have is more than promise, it is power. Together they began preparing. The village transformed into a fortress, training grounds echoed with the sound of drills and determination. The children's powers grew stronger under Jason's careful guidance, but so did the risks. Controlling such energy came with dangers they all feared. One evening, as a violent storm rolled in, Jason found himself alone with Lyra under the heavy sky. I never imagined this life, Jason said, voice low. Far from home, fighting wars in a place I barely understand. Lyra smiled, her hand finding his. Sometimes the universe chooses us, not the other way around. But we face it, together. Suddenly, lightning split the sky, illuminating. A dark figure watching from the edge of the village. The air grew cold and a voice whispered in Jason's mind. A warning, a threat. They are here, Lyra said, eyes wide with fear. The final battle was coming. Not just for their family, but for the fate of countless worlds. As allies arrived from distant stars and the village prepared to fight, Jason felt something deep inside. A fierce hope. Stronger than any fear. This was no longer just a story about an alien widow's wish. It was about standing tall in the face of darkness, about fighting for family, future, and freedom. And as the first warships appeared beyond the clouds, Jason, Lyra, and their children stood ready. Because sometimes the greatest power is the courage to protect what you love, even when the universe is against you. The new beginning was also the hardest test, and their story was far from over.